Hello, my name is Deepali. I'm one of your student directors, as hopefully you know, and I'm going to be doing a little run through of the info session, giving you some tips on the slideshow and how you can make it even more engaging. So to start off, what is the info session? An info session is essentially a session that you can invite prospective members to, and where you'll tell them a little bit more about the Believe Leadership course, and most importantly, why they should join. So let's get started. So to note, first of all the things in pink on the slideshows are things that you should change and customize to your chapter. So for example, you wouldn't say the APHS chapter, you'd say the name of your chapter in its abbreviated form. So for example, if your school name was White Oak Secondary School, like mine is, you'd say the WAS chapter. That's what we call our school name. And so the first thing you want to do is welcome everybody. You also might see that there are speaker notes here that you can follow if you'd like. You do not have to follow these exact speaker notes. They're just kind of tips if you're confused about what's going on the slide. If you are a chapter head that has presented before, you probably might not need them, but they are there to just help you along if needed. And so remember, with this welcome, you really want to be encouraging and open and really enthusiastic, because you want people to join. And if people don't think you're happy being here, why would they want to be in the club as well? This next part that you're going to talk about is an info session overview. So to keep your session organized and to know what to expect, so people know what to expect, you'll have a little overview that talks about what you're going to be going through, which includes introducing yourself as chapter heads, introducing the Believe Initiative and the Believe Leadership course, talking about why join the BLC and what is it in the first place, and then talking about the next steps, meeting dates, logistics, and getting started. Those are what we call call to action. So instead of just informing people about it, you're calling them to action to join your chapter. So the first part is meeting your chapter heads. You'll customize this with your information. You can talk about, why you want to be a chapter head. In a few sentences, you can talk about some of your hobbies and things like that, and just make sure they're relevant and make sure they're professional. So as you can see, Katie, for example, the other co-head, this is an example of her chapter APHS. She put some hobbies on for doodling and learning. It was something that allows her members to connect with her, but it wasn't too unprofessional or things like that. Then you'll talk a little bit about the Believe Initiative. There's some information on the screen, but essentially the key points that you have to get across are that it was founded by Canadian Olympian Sarah Wells, and it fosters self-belief, resilience, and of course, leadership. These skills are really kind of encouraged in the Believe Initiative because it's a lesson Sarah Wells learned as an Olympian, and if you'd like, you can do some extra research on that, or if you've heard any of her talks, you can do some watching of those videos as well, or you can just ask us if you have any questions about that. And we can also say that it empowers elementary schools and secondary schools through course integrations or one-time events. So the next part that we go to is kind of a question, and this is a rhetorical question. You don't have to get an answer for this. In some of your future lessons, you'll be asking questions directly to the audience, and you'll be expecting them to participate, but this is just kind of introducing your students to the idea of what the Believe Leadership course was founded upon, and it's essentially what would you do if you believed you could? And what would you do if you believed you could not fail? And those are the kind of questions that we strive to answer and that we strive to think about in the Believe Leadership course, is empowering everyone to be their best and to kind of believe in themselves that much more. So then we go on to talk a little bit about the impact of the Believe Initiative. Woohoo, great numbers. This is a great way you can prove the credibility of your chapter as well, especially if it's a new club at your school. Then we have a little bit of a video of an inspiration fair, so people can figure out what being the Believe Leadership course results in. Now, just make a note while you're presenting that they might not know what a passion project or an inspiration fair is, so just make sure to tell them, don't worry, we'll explain all of this to you later, but this is just something you can look forward to. And then you'll get started on introducing people to the Believe Leadership course. This is something that they're probably, hopefully, excited about. And this is kind of where you're going to throw out the benefits to your students. You can talk about the impact here, but then you can also talk about, and you also should talk about, what is the BLC. And this is kind of the main point of your info session, is to A, introduce the BLC, and B, encourage people and convince people to join the BLC. So you'll essentially say that it's a 9-step program. Or you can even call it a 9-week program if that's easier, and announcements and things like that consists of lessons and a passion project. Let's just talk about what the BLC is. So I'm actually going to go back a few slides, and this is a kind of slide that explains the Believe Leadership course to start off. There are two main elements that I really emphasize telling people when I'm trying to describe the Believe Believe Leadership course. So one is that it's a leadership course. It teaches you essential leadership skills such as confidence, resilience, creativity, and so much more. And the second part is that not only do you learn these leadership skills, but you get to apply them to passion projects where you create change. So that's two things that I really emphasize when trying to describe the Believe Leadership course, otherwise known as the BLC. I think sometimes especially for new chapter heads, it can be difficult to do, but keeping those two things in mind can be very important. So you're emphasizing the leadership qualities that people will gain by being as part of it, but then you're also emphasizing the impact, that not only do they just learn about being a leader or learn about being confident or learn about being resilient, but they actually get to apply these skills and create real change in their community. So going back to this slide about what the BLC is, this is a kind of slide where we include a lot of buzzwords to draw people in. So we talk about this 9-step program. You can also call it a 9-week program if you'd like, which is essentially consisting of lessons. And then we'll also talk about how you create a passion project to create change with. So those are the two kind of elements I emphasized earlier, are the lessons about leadership and your ability to work on a passion project and create change. Then you'll talk about, how you'll the specifics of it, of how you can develop skills such as collaboration, confidence, resilience, discipline, and of course, leadership. And then you'll, talk about how you'll get guidance to create your own passion project. You can earn volunteer hours. That's another key kind of buzzword that people like. And then you can earn an official certificate of completion, which is really great for resumes. So you can see words that are bolded on the slide that you can emphasize to get people's attention, especially people who might not have heard of this before as well. You'll talk about the timeline a little bit about it. You don't have to go in detail with each of these steps, but you can essentially say, here are the skills we're going to be learning. You can point out a few things that you like. And you can also say that at the end, we'll celebrate it all at a chapter inspiration fair. Personally, in my experience, I wouldn't emphasize that as much as I would emphasize the skills that people learn immediately, because I think those are what's more interested to people in the shorthand, or in the short term, I should say. So really emphasize the benefits. And then you can emphasize other benefits such as, developing leadership traits, leadership mindsets, working with like-minded people, getting access to the BLC alumni network afterwards, which I think right now is, over hundreds of people, having the opportunity to create direct change, which I think a lot of people want to do, and having exclusive access to Believe Initiative resources, videos, and exercises, which really can be great as well. So really emphasizing benefits in this can help. Then the next thing you'll do, and the final thing you'll do, is have a call to action. So this is where you'll say, get started. How do people actually join? So they've heard all about it. They're excited. You've been excited while presenting it to them. So you'll say a few things. You can say where they can sign up at. Remember, we have a template form for the Google form for them to sign up at, which you can make a copy of, and make sure to set a deadline on that so people actually do that. Then you can say to join your chapter's virtual communication platform, which is often Google Classroom. You can insert the class code there as well. That's where you should also be posting this slide deck, as well as kind of like a welcome message for everybody. And then you can also say, come to our first meeting on this date. Remember, all the things in pink you should change, and you can talk about the further logistics of your details of your meetings here, where you talk about the start and end date of your meetings and the dates on the meeting place, etc. Remember to include that, especially if it's an in-person meeting. So then you can also make sure to promote your Instagram account, as well as you should be posting information on there as well to promote. So an info session can really help you promote your BLC chapter, get everyone to join it, and answer any questions people may have as well at the end of it. Thank you, and I hope that this little rundown helped you know a little bit more about your info session.